So watch this. Zoom is officially now bigger than the top 7 airlines combined in America. Again, Zoom is worth $48.78 billion. The top 7 airlines, Southwest, Delta, United, IAG, Lufthansa, American Airlines, Air France, are worth $46.21 billion. One company that got started April 21st of 2011, 9 years ago. In 9 years, this company went from zero to $48.78 billion. Now watch this number here. Here's an interesting stat. December of 2019, 10 million people a day used Zoom. 10 million people a day used Zoom. 4 months later, it's 200 million a day. That's March. April was 300 million people a day used Zoom. That means in December, just 6 months ago, they can only reach the city of New York. That's it. Only New York City knows about this one product. Fast forward 6 months later, all of America uses Zoom. If we were to put things into perspective, that's insanity. But we got to look at some other data here. How did this company become who they are today? Did the guy who started it know what he was doing? Did he get lucky? The founder's name is Eric Yuan, okay? He's today worth $7.8 billion. Mark, if you can zoom in here, 7.8. He owns 22% of Zoom. Here's the most interesting part to read about him. Eric Yuan worked in Japan for 4 years after graduation, inspired by Bill Gates, who worked in Japan in 1994. He moved to Silicon Valley in 1997, joined the tech boom. At the time, Yuan spoke very little English, applied 9 times to be granted a visa from the United States. Upon arriving in this country, joined WebEx, which is a company that doesn't do well right now. I don't know how many webinars I did with them that absolutely crashed in March. And I said, we were on the calls with their executives who said, we can't use you anymore because so many times it crashed. Now watch what happens. He joins WebEx, a video conferencing startup. The company acquired by Cisco Systems in 2007, which I think for like $3.2 billion. At the time, which he became the vice president of engineering. In 2011, Juan pitched a new smartphone-friendly video conferencing system to Cisco management. The idea was rejected. Juan left Cisco to start Zoom. Zoom is a publicly traded company, and now Juan is a billionaire thanks to WebEx. Now, what's the moral of the story here? Here's what the moral of the story is. Couple things about Zoom. Then we're going to look at airlines. Number one, luck. You've heard a quote. Luck is where preparation meets opportunity, right? You always hear this stuff. Well, luck is where preparation meets opportunity. So often, opportunity comes up where people can get lucky and have the biggest change in their lives, but they're not ready for it. You know, Brady was ready for Bledsoe. Young was ready when Montana got hurt. Eric Yuan was ready when the pandemic came in. Boom! They went from 10 million users a day to 300 million users a day. Now watch the airline industry. Let's look at some data here. Here's the airline industry. According to TSA, if you want to come up to, they can see the website. According to TSA, okay, on March 1st, okay, we had 2.28 million people traveling every day. March of 2019, it was 2.3 million people traveling. So not a big difference. It's a drop off of 20,000 people, right? If we go higher, you notice we went from 2.2 to 1.7 to 1.6 to 1.485 to 953. We cracked a million, less than a million on March 17th. So now people are traveling less. People are scared. 199. We're going lower, lower, lower. 118. We're going lower, lower. 94. We're going lower, lower. 87,000 people traveling a day. The airline industry went from 2.3 million people traveling on a daily basis all the way down to 87. Watch this. The 87,000 people that traveled in a day, look what it was a year prior to that. 2.208 million, okay? 2.208 million people traveling. And then you come up and you notice we went from that 87 number to now, as of yesterday, 230,000 people traveled, which is good, but it's not yet back to the million or 500,000 or 1.5 million or 2 million. We are still 2.2 million travelers behind last year. So now, when you see numbers like this, where it went from 10 to 1, from 2 million to 200,000, that's a drop off of 90%. That's a massive drop off. Watch what happens with the stock prices of these companies. Let's take a look at this. American Airlines, the last 6 months, it was hovering around $27, you know, just a couple months ago, right before March 20th, around $29 or $30. It went all the way down to right now, you can buy a share of American Airlines for what? $9.994, $9.94. Today, you can buy it, right? Market cap dropped all the way down to $4.21 billion. Let's go to the next one. Stay here. Southwest was $56 a share just a couple months ago. If you want to buy a share, 55, 58, to now you can buy it for $29.15. So it's not that big of a drop off, right? Watch this. United went from same thing around 88, 87, 85, 79, down to $25. You can buy a share right now for $26, give or take, of United. And then take a look at Delta. Delta was around $60 if you look at where they were at 3 months ago. They are right now hovering around $23. So now you look at that data, right? Here's what you think about. I say to myself, at least, so let me get this straight. They were having 2.2 million people traveling per day to now only 200,000 people traveling per day. But the stock prices have only dropped 50%. And Warren Buffett, who owns shares on 4 of them, 10% minimum, he sold all 4 of them. Why? Is he thinking it's going to go lower? Then it's because if we do basic math, you know how some companies, let's just say you run a business and you have a restaurant, they shut you down. You can't have people coming in. You're taking a big hit. You can pivot. How do you pivot? You deliver more. You bring food to people, right? Maybe you do different kind of services. You can still pivot and have some kind of money coming in. How do airlines pivot? What do they do? Do airlines say, I got 50 planes sitting right here. Why don't you come and rent one of them for 40 grand and put a party in there? I can't. How do airlines pivot? Okay. We got these people that like to take pictures and post it on Instagram. Why don't you come and take a picture saying, I'm running this airline. Look at me. I'm by myself for $6,000. No one's doing that today. No one cares about that stuff. How do airlines pivot? Actually think about that. How do airlines pivot? Uber just announced they're letting go of another 4,000 people. How are they going to pivot if there's not a lot of transportation taking place? Here's the moral of the story. The airline industry right now is a bit overvalued right now based on some of the data that you're seeing. Now, don't get me wrong. The market's going to recover once we go back to traveling. I don't know if we're going to go back to 2.2 million people traveling every day anytime soon. I don't even think it's going to happen that quickly in the next 30, 60, 90 days. I think it may take a little longer than that. But we're eventually going to go there. They still have taken a hit. Government keeps bailing them out. It's fake money. If the government doesn't bail out these guys and give them money, you better believe this wouldn't be down 50%. This would be down 90%. That means the real price without a bailout of Delta, instead of $60, it should be $6 today, not $23. That means an American Airlines that was at $30 pre-pandemic, $28 pre-pandemic, it should really be $3 today. It's not worth $3 because of the bailout, not because what its value is today. They were bailed out. This should be a $3 stock. So that's the true value. But the bailout has made it look better than what it really is. And Powell making the rates constantly go lower and figuring out every way to bail everybody out. We understand what they're doing. They're playing the whole socialism on capitalism and companies and taking care of these guys, which it is what it is. I'm not a fan of it, but they're doing what they're doing. Here's the moral of the story. The moral of the story is the following. No matter what business you're running, people keep asking me, Pat, what should I be doing? Look at Zoom. Oh my gosh, Zoom is killing it. Hotels are not killing it. Hotels are getting crushed. Airlines are not killing it. They're getting crushed. Uber's not killing it. They're getting crushed, right? Whatever business you're doing, you have to assume your business model is set up in a way where you are pandemic proof. What do I mean by pandemic proof? Now watch this. We've had pandemics in the past before. When the AIDS crisis took place, nobody shut down the government. Everybody was just more careful having sex with somebody that they just met for the first time. AIDS didn't stop people from going to work. We haven't done this in 8 years, but there's a couple things that's changed in the last few years. And here's what it is. Let me explain it to you. We are learning in the last 2 months the power of media and the power of politicians. Why? Media manipulates and puts panic into us. What do? They control. Politicians enforce their power. They can tell you, California can say, if you go outside, somebody that's working, snitch on them, we'll tell them off and we'll go arrest them, pay $1,000 fine. The lady in Salem, they fined her a couple $1,000s and they threatened to fine her $75,000 who runs a salon. Or the lady here in Dallas who's not an essential business and somebody determines if you're an essential business or not. The reality is assume if this were to happen again and you're not an essential business, how are you going to survive during another time when the media can dictate what to do and politicians can dictate what to do? And so if there's ever been a time where this word's more powerful, freedom, it's today. And the way you get this freedom to choose how you live is by you and your family getting your millions. Not the millions for the Lambos and the Ferraris and the Rolls and the watches and the homes and the $6,000 suits and the $80,000 watches and the $2,000 shoes. I'm not talking that kind of millionaire. I'm talking about free to choose type of millionaire. Freedom is what I'm talking about. Not all this other stuff. So if you're not sitting around with your board, with your leadership team, with your wife, with your husband, with your friends, with your peers, with your siblings, and you're not figuring out a way to be pandemic proof, you may also very soon be looking at stats like this, where your customers may go from 2.2 million a day to 84,000 just because of the media's control and politicians' control to enforce laws that you have no control over. You don't vote for it. They told you better do it or else. You also go make your own money, so they can't tell you what to do because you get to be free to choose what you want to do.